Hi everyone, I've got myself, Nick Picard, and Alistair Howie here. We're here to do a set review for the Fate Reforged set that's coming out this week for the Canadian Highlander format, played in Victoria, BC, and hopefully soon elsewhere. We're going to give you the highlights of the format that we consider to be relevant to Canadian Highlander, the highlights of the set, I should say. And we're going to start at the top. Here's Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
Everybody's very excited about this fella.
I guess the easiest comparison is to Karn, the Planeswalker.
Which I don't see get played very much, but...
Yeah, it's pretty steep on mana, and this is even steeper. But, hey, I lost a game to Karn today, and this would have done the same thing. So, Grixis Control, tap-out control. That's the deck that was played by Will Fairbrother tonight that was making great use of Karn. So, I don't see why Ugin can't go in tap-out control decks like that.
And it's certainly been pointed out that if he's in an artifact ramp deck, he can blow up the world for everything minus the artifacts that he used to ramp into himself.
Right.
So,
and obviously, Painter Servant, he can get in every turn, so that's awesome! I'm excited about it. This card also seems very exciting.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably not going to be good enough in a fair deck.
And it's not good in a combo deck also.
So it certainly seems very exciting.
But it's not good. Yeah.
Seems good.
I put Monastery Mentor here in the same category as Bremask. 3 mana and might see around 5 power or something.
I mean, it obviously is more dependent on the deck that you're playing than those other cards.
Bremask.
If you don't have a Lightning Strike, or a counterspell, it's just a 3 mana 2/2.
And it's not just white creature decks that it's going into, though. It's possibly in white and blue tempo decks. So that's interesting. That's something to think about. It's definitely a look at this card.
I definitely want this card in play if I'm casting 3 counterspells afterwards.
Yeah. It's much like the blue-red decks are playing all sorts
like
of...
Young Pyromancer.
Exactly. It's like the Young Pyromancer of the blue-white deck that is just on the cusp of being a really strong archetype. So it's exciting to see them playing this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think that this is obviously a good card. Like it's a bear with lifelink, and then you just keep stapling abilities onto it.
It's a very powerful card, but what deck does it go in?
Well, it's a good bear with burn. It feels like it wants to go in a white-red burn deck.
I know there's a couple of white-red aggro players out there, and you're so excited about this card. I want you to prove that your deck is good, and now it's even better. So please, show us that it can make it happen. My only possibility of cards decks that I've actually seen with a really good showing, with lots of burn spells and lots of small white creatures, is Mardu aggro. That was a thing last year. More Mardu cards have been printed since then, so I think that's a potential avenue.
I think with this and with a lot of the other cards in the set that have these hybrid activations, is they're decent bodies on their own that just also give you some nice late game reach for if you top deck it and you have a shock in your hand.
Yeah. Please play it. Show us that it's good. This guy, unfortunately, you will not show us that it's good. This is a trap. It looks like it's 4 mana 4 for vigilance, and hey, that's a good... the old combat trick until cows come home, but it's too much mana for the activation, and 4 mana 4/4 is actually way under the curve for Highlander.
And the Golgari mana on this seems weird. Like I know it's an Abzan card, but it feels like that ought to be a Simic activation to move counters around.
Black mana moving counters? Anyway, it's way too much mana just to cast it and to activate it, so nope. You like this card.
I think that this card is very interesting.
Tell us about this card.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say that it's an amazing card, but it's a 3 mana 2/1 shadow that just keeps coming back. Like, it's obviously appealing in a deck, one of those decks that wants to just have, 1 or 2 threats that they can drop down and keep bringing back. I know a 2-power creature isn't the best way to end a game. but you can keep casting this thing out of your graveyard, either if you're a blue-green kind of tempo deck or a blue-black control deck. I'm very interested to see if it finds a home somewhere.
Well, I feel that blue-black control decks don't have black permanents in play, ever, so that's not a fit. And blue-green decks, they don't ever have blockers on the other side of the board. The whole point of the deck is bouncing everything and countering it, so I don't see the card having a home.
I play a deck in Highlander that likes casting things out of my graveyard at every possible opportunity. So when a card says that it can be cast out of its graveyard, I want to see it being cast out of a graveyard.
I admit I'm biased too. I don't like having permanents in play. So let's leave it to the players who play these sorts of things. Yeah, show us what you can do with that card.
I think that this card is going to... It's obviously nuts and limited. It's probably going to see play in Standard.
In Highlander, the closest comparison is Kira, Great Glass Spinner.
Which is valid.
I think she's better than Cloud Form. Yes, there's a chance that you're flipping up a big creature if you play those.
The kind of deck that plays plays Kira probably doesn't actually play that many
They don't play
big creatures. And if they do, it's something like Thundermaw Hellkite that already has flying. So.
Right. Yeah, I think Kira's underplayed enough currently that Cloud Form's not going to be a second Kira in most people's decks.
But if your deck plays Kira,
hey, yeah,
a second Kira,
please.
So you like this card?
Oh, I want it to be good. Speaking of hard to kill evasive creatures, it's really tempting to me, this idea of this playing the 3-card Monty, and you know,
it's a sort of saboteur card in that it does stuff when it hits the opponent, but I think that the biggest thing that it's sabotaging is itself.
I disagree. I think there's a real dream scenario that is not as likely as it seems, where it's actually just making 2/2s.
It can certainly make a 2/2 every turn, but it can't be blocked. It's not unblockable once it's made 2/2s. So in order for this to happen, your opponent needs to be not blocking the correct face-down creature, and you need to be spending 3 mana every turn to get a 2/2.
But if they have no creatures, then it's actually just making a 2/2 every turn, and that's amazing.
But it still costs you 3 mana, because you have to be flipping it face up again every turn, because it keeps turning itself face down.
Yes, but I think the deck that is doing that is leaving 3 mana and can flip it up at the end of the turn. So I admit it's a scenario where you're not having to spend mana and they don't have any creatures in play, but have you seen Blue-Green Tempo? It can do anything it wants. That deck is so strong, and I think the only reason why this card isn't bonkers in that deck is that the power level in that deck is so high that I think 3 years ago this card would have really seen a slot in Blue-Green Tempo, and now probably only because its creatures are crazy. I like it. It probably won't see play, but.
I certainly want to see it be played, because I love the shuffling the cards and
it's a fun card for
yeah.
sure. Speaking of, this card seems good. I don't know. Don't you think so? My dream scenario here. Okay, my dream scenario here is so simple. It's bounce spell main phase, or on declare attacker step, it becomes hit you for 8 in a blue-red deck.
Yeah.
Or the blue-white tempo deck that we were talking about earlier. Like, these decks probably do play
that deck
probably, into the Royal, right?
Probably isn't an ideal scenario to be casting Boomerang pre-combat. You'd probably much rather be casting that in your opponent's end step. And a 3 mana...
Well, when they're at 8 life.
3 mana, 3/2... I don't know, it's...
3 mana, often 3 mana 4/3. In a blue-red deck, you're casting a lot of non-creature spells. You can suboptimally cast 1 or 2 of them a turn pre-combat, can't you?
I'm not saying it's not going to happen.
I'm comparing this one also to Young Pyromancer.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
It's not as strong, I admit, but I think it takes the same deck slot, and the dream. You're hitting for 8 so often with this.
I think the problem is that it doesn't do anything until the turn after you cast it. And then
that's standard fare for creatures.
Then you need to... Well, not most creatures that get played in Highlander.
Fair enough.
Young Pyromancer comes down when you have a counterspell
It's
open.
not unanswerable, as they call creatures that have card advantage the turn they draw.
And even if it does survive a turn, you then also need to have the probably reactive non-creature spell that you want to cast proactively to burn or bounce, and the mana to give something else double strike.
All right, I feel like we're at an impasse. I think this card is super strong.
All right, well, I think it's all right. We'll see if it gets played.
Please play it. I think I might. Now this one, I don't know.
I don't feel like it has a current home.
No.
But I'd like to.
Strong? No.
I'd like to see a mono blue aggro deck that runs Phantasmal Bear and it's obviously not good in the deck, the blue green tempo decks that want to put a threat in the board and then protect with counterspells. You can't protect this thing with a counterspell.
And anyway, those decks have 2 mana 4/5s, so they don't need 4/1s with the drawback. But I think for the same reason that blue-white tempo is almost getting to playability, it's the same reasons that mono blue tempo is on its way, and that's really exciting.
It's certainly another piece for a deck that would be interesting to see played that doesn't really at the moment.
This is the deck with Flying Men, Kira, and Unstable Mutation, right? Oh yeah, get in there. Someone should build it. I will if no one else does. Frostwalker is the kind of card that goes in that deck, and it's just one more brick in a larger structure. But it's an exciting brick.
3 mana for a Time Walk.
A lot of buzz about this card. Now, you can't put it under Panoptic Mirror, which is the main Highlander application for Time Walks, other than creature decks, which probably aren't getting to 8 cards in their graveyard.
Yeah, but the main reason that Time Walks are of limited supply in Highlander is because they cost 5 mana. Time Walk costs 2, and if people have a copy and the points to play it, they happily play it in more aggressive. Yeah, it's an amazing card.
Yeah.
There are a number of decks that are capable of getting to 8 cards in graveyard.
So which decks? Which decks?
Well, I'm certainly hoping people will try this card out in a slower control deck like Greg says.
Just for value, just 10 mark for value. I mean, it's a lot better if you have creatures in play.
Or planeswalkers.
Good point. I can see this being played in Grixis tap out control.
Unless you tap out and then also untap again.
But probably not blue-green tempo, and possibly not even mono-blue Seinfeld because of the Panoptic Mirror dysynergy.
I still feel like 3 mana for a Time Walk is just strong enough on its own.
It'll see play for sure in blue decks, but not in every blue deck. It's not a shoe-in.
I'm just sad because it means I probably won't be able to trick you into playing Save of the Moment in the deck again.
Save of the Moment. I love it. The cat's got to make her obligatory cameo here. You joining the fun? There we go. There we go. She had her time. 50 minutes of fame. Reality Shift. Yet exiles a creature for 2 mana in blue. I don't even need to read the rest of this card.
I mean, it gives them a 2/2, but
better than Pongify.
Yeah. I mean, people don't really play Pongify, but 3/3 is a lot more than a 2/2. I think a 3/3 matters. It matters a lot more on a board than a 2/2.
This cat really doesn't show up on camera.
There is actually a cat here.
Yeah, you can see her eyes.
That's quite eerie.
It's kind of creepy. 3/3 mana is a lot more than 2/2. 2/2 can be blocked by all manner of 1/3 cantrip butts that blue control decks have lying around.
Trade with your Trinket Mage.
Oh yeah. Unless they have
and it exiles the creature.
Unless they have the secret flip up. Don't get blown out. They probably won't. They probably won't. Almost ever.
I love that aspect of Manifest. That the majority of the time it's just a 2/2, and because it's the majority of the time, people aren't going to play around it that much.
Yeah, you'll never see it coming. You really never will see it coming. So prepare to get blown up. But Reality Shift goes in some decks, blue control decks that don't have access to black or white for removal. I'm thinking blue-red.
Yeah, blue-red has real difficulty with creatures with high toughness.
Possibly even blue-green.
You know, at the worst, they can shock the Manifest card, and that's still probably better than any number of big creatures.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of problem cards for blue-red, so hey, I'd take a serious look at Reality Shift.
Okay, well, Renowned Weaponsmith is definitely just going to see play because Vile Dragonfire is nuts.
Vile Dragonfire. I don't know if I know that card. Better do gather research. Hey, you know what? It's not terrible. It's Vidalcan
Engineer.
Except
It's
look
1/3.
look at that butt. That butt blocks everything. There's entire decks with nothing but Goblin Piker, over and over and over again. So
I mean, Vidalcan Engineer doesn't really see play even in the big mana decks.
but look at this butt. 3 toughness. That's great. Hey, artifact people, give it a shot. Come on. And like you want Vial of Dragonfire in play. Hey,
Well, this card's going right in my deck.
You're happy about this?
Yeah. I'm going to destroy all those dragons.
So this is a destroy all creatures, basically. But decks with white are not interested in it.
No, but
Creature decks aren't interested in it. So we're looking at non-white control decks. We've got possibly mono-black control. Crazy excited about it. And green-black slower decks. Like
I don't know if
Alistair's deck.
Grixis plays this or not. They have a lot of cards they have access to. I haven't played that, so I don't know. But I know that Black
I
doesn't
think it probably does.
Black doesn't have that many wraths.
I think Grixis definitely plays Crux of Fate. We're looking at, they currently have Damnation, Toxic Deluge, and then from there, they're playing suboptimal cards like Pyroclasm and various Pyroclasm variants.
Yeah.
So I think they're really happy to have Crux of Fate. That deck also has a lot of access to mana.
And this card pretends that it isn't a wrath, but all non-dragon creatures...
If they have a dragon, just say destroy all dragons.
Yeah, it's a 5 mana kill spell, but they paid at least 5 mana for their dragon, so...
You're fine with destroy all dragons if you're killing a dragon. So, yeah, it's a wrath. That's just a great card. Oh, yeah, a lot... well, not a lot of decks, but there's certain decks that don't have access to white. I'm very happy about this. This is my favorite card of this set. This is my pick.
I think it might be my favorite card of the set, too.
Oh, boy. Okay, let's look at this deck. I'm going to read it out. 4/5 creature for 6 mana, but delve. So typically 1 or 2 mana for 4/5 creature. We're already happy!
Remember how excited people were when Hooting Mandrills came out?
Right.
There was an
Hooting
attempt
Mandrills.
to have that be the Tarmogoyf of the set.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think that ever got there.
It didn't quite get there.
But this is a 4/5.
And then the other comparison is Tomb Stalker, which was 5/5 flying.
8 mana. And
For 8
it
mana.
always cost you at least 2.
So you're always paying 6 cards in graveyard and 2 black mana for 1 more power in flying. But then its other abilities also relevant. 4 mana, top 2 cards mill, and then your opponent chooses a non-land card in your graveyard.
Now, I have to admit, the first time I read this card, I didn't twig to the fact that it said non-land.
Yeah, they choose any non-land card in your graveyard of their choice.
Which synergizes with the fact that it has Delve. So when you cast it, you can exile all the non-land cards in your graveyard that you don't want. And then the only situation in which this isn't draw a good card is if you flip 2 cards and one of them is one you no longer want.
Which, I mean, what are you doing playing cards you don't want in your deck? This is always going to be 2 mana, like, scry 1, draw a card, which is so good. Like, this is going in black-green mid-range decks, like Alistair's deck, black-blue control decks, like the decks I always play. Basically, it was made for us. No, I mean, all black-blue control players are going to be very happy to see this. Tap out control and otherwise, because this is just 1 mana on your turn. This card is totally nuts, and I'm just surprised if it doesn't shake up other formats as well, but it's huge for Highlander, and it'll make control decks want to play black, I think.
I'm very excited to see them play.
Lord Chief, I can't find a head on this guy. I'm just going to assume it doesn't have a head like Faceless Butcher.
I think he's turned his head away from the camera because he's shy.
I've chosen to believe he doesn't have a head. I'm
this
fine with that.
seems like an obvious comparison to Hellrider.
Yeah, Hellrider's the comparison. It doesn't have haste, but it has 2 upsides other than Hellrider. So you gain some life, and it has a 5-mana
You
ability.
cast Master Warfare every turn.
Right. So that's super powerful. What decks does it go in?
I don't know, black, red. Is there a black-white aggro deck? I don't know.
No.
But
There's Mardu aggro. I'm pretty sure that deck is a thing.
and
Nobody's playing it right now, but
and Rakdos aggro.
it goes in Rakdos aggro, and it goes in Jund aggro, which is definitely a thing. I think it goes in there. I think it's the top end. You're maybe cutting something, but I think this is good enough. Yeah.
That a bit, especially in a slightly larger creature deck where, like, if you're playing this in some kind of goblinsy, everything you have is a 2/2. When you activate this ability, you're just making, because your opponent's creatures have to block. You're throwing all of them in front of your smallest creature and then getting in. But in a more Jundy mid-range deck, you can potentially actually set up blocks where you just wrath your opponent's side of the field and still get in for damage.
Yeah, think about all the scenarios where that's good. There's a lot of scenarios.
Is this guy good enough to see play?
It goes in mono black aggro for sure. We're talking a
Probably.
recurring source of card advantage in a color that doesn't get any card advantage, and reasonable stats for mono black. But black green has access to green creatures, and black red is just playing a lower curve.
Dash 4 is... It's nice that you get the token right away. Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah,
I agree. It seems borderline. Mono black, you're right. The
I
mono
think
black
it's just.
plays.
I think it's just for mono black and Highlander.
Beautiful artwork.
Yeah. Alicia, that's a nice name. Not very fantasy feeling. Maybe it's Alicia.
I like.
Yeah.
That's an awesome name.
Uh,
Can you just imagine having that on your business card?
So
Three mana for a 3/2 first strike is not the worst. Like,
no, that's reasonable stats.
Yeah.
The first strike is really relevant. There's a lot of 3-toughness creatures in Highlander.
yeah. And then when you're attacking, you're
You are attacking.
and you are going to be having dead creatures with power 2 or less. And it puts them into play attacking too.
I didn't even know that. Wow. Yeah, this card is just really efficient on the mana, and it's a recurring card advantage in an aggro deck. But not the bad kind of card advantage where you just draw them. You aggro players hate just drawing cards. You want to put them straight into play.
Tapped and attacking.
Yeah, that's the way you want to do it. But what deck does this go into? Once again, the question. We keep looking at these red, white, and black aggressive cards and wondering what deck they go into. Do I have to say it? Mardu aggro.
And since we've just had 2 sets that have been focusing on color, 3 color combinations that have never had a set dedicated to them before.
I think Mardu is looking for a breakout. It's really trying to push. But in the meantime, I know red-white is a fringe aggro deck, and push at people, and same with red-black. So this is happy in both those decks, but it really shines in the 3-color. So another Phoenix, and it's 3 mana. You just 3 mana 2/2 flying haste Phoenix, and you just kind of go, okay, this is going into my deck.
I mean, people play Chandra's Phoenix.
What decks play Chandra's Phoenix?
I don't remember, but I've had it played against me multiple times.
People are definitely playing Chandra's Phoenix. So if you're playing Chandra's Phoenix, play this Phoenix. I don't know if you really care that it requires a creature with power 4 or greater. What have you got? Flametongue Kavu, Thunderma Hellkite.
It's a 3 mana 2/2 flying haste.
I think that's sometimes enough.
And it can come back if you have...
These decks do play 4 power creatures.
Yeah.
I mean, on the control end, it's also got Batterskull, and then people have Hero of Oxid Ridge, and mountains that have been animated to 4/4. That's a thing that happens with Koth.
Sometimes Thundermaw Hellkite.
Yeah. So, yeah, you actually have ways of recurring this. This is totally defensible.
So
What does this do? It's a 4 mana, and you can choose when it comes into play that it draws a card in your upkeep, sort of, or
ping something when things
when
die.
creatures die on your side.
I
Ping
feel like a
anything.
lot of these sieges, the dragons aspect is...
Yeah, they're trying to convince us dragons are going to win this war. I'm not buying it.
I mean, like, obviously,
I think we're picking cons mostly.
yeah.
With this.
And if you do pick cons, it's like Coercive Portal, but for red.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to cast the card on your turn, but that shouldn't be a big
Grixis
deal.
control often is casting the card on their turn anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And there's possibly other decks that have access to only a 1 red mana that would like to play a second Coercive Portal. We know that Coercive Portal is very strong.
Coercive Portal is very strong.
So if you're playing Coercive Portal and you don't play too many counter spells, just play Outpost Siege. It's great. You probably hit a land most of the time anyway.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's super strong in the right deck.
Everybody likes this guy.
Not much to say. Goblins are very happy to have a 3 power for 2 mana, and Dash just gives them more options.
And who doesn't want a Surfing Goblin?
It's adorable. Looks like a little... Look at the tufts. I love it. Mutton chops. Much more intimidating looking. There's not a goblin. Oh.
So this guy also... There seems to be several of these 4-drops that sort of fit in the same niche as Hero of Oxenfree and Hellrider.
That slot is getting very tight. And so when you see these cards are strong...
There's going to be a lot more competition for them now.
Yeah. It's hard to say for sure, but...
I mean, I have to admit that its ability probably won't matter that much, because if it's getting through and connecting, your opponent should be dead pretty soon.
But it's 4 mana for a 4/2 haste.
Yeah, that's nice.
With double upside.
And it only costs 1 red instead of Hero of Oxenfree is 2, which is
Easier for
irrelevant.
blue-red,
Yeah.
possibly. Yeah.
And hey, if you are blue-red, then you can pay 4 mana and draw a card.
There you go. Yeah, this card's definitely something to watch out for. I think it's strong, but dubious whether it has a deck to go to.
So this guy has a lot of words on him, but
5 mana for 3/3. When it attacks, you put a token on the battlefield, tap and attack, and it's a copy of another target attacking creature. It can't copy itself, so you need to have an attacking creature for it to be relevant.
it also sort of fills in the same slot that we were just talking about. 4 drops,
Yeah.
like Hellrider.
So it's like a 4 mana temporarily double one of your creatures if you dash it, plus 3 damage. There's a lot of conditionals on this, and it's 5 mana instead of 4 in a slot full of strong.
If 4 if you
creatures.
dash it.
Sure.
It's, again, I think that it's quite strong in the abstract, especially in like the slightly higher end kind of Jund deck that's got a lot of 3/3s and 4/4s in play. You dash it in for 4 mana, copy your Bogart Ram Gang or whatever. But I agree that there's a lot of competition for those slots. So whether or not it actually sees in play.
I'm dubious. Okay.
This card is interesting.
It catches the eye. 2 mana, 2/1. It draws 2 cards.
I mean, it's
You
bad.
don't need to keep reading. This card's a trap. It looks like it's going to draw you some cards or beat down and have that like an option. It's a total trick. You're gonna end up drawing 2 cards, and one of them is going to be a removal spell, and the other one's going to be dead. And you spend the removal spell on it, and you just tricked yourself out of a 2/1. Which is really funny. So play this card because I love to laugh.
This seems worth mentioning to people who play Shock, because it's better than Shock.
People play Shock.
People play Shock.
Play this now.
Yep. Okay, there we go. Again, what is it with the dragon side of these cards?
That's the red-green legendary dragon, isn't it? He's got all these glowing
yeah.
hands. I love him. He's adorable.
I think it's
Yeah.
a she.
Oh, okay.
This card seems really interesting for a big ramp green deck that wants to have a ton of mana. Like, it's 4 mana, and it gives you 4 mana every turn.
That deck wants its mana all at once, though, so it kind of just gives you 2 mana every turn.
Well,
And 2 mana is nothing compared to what the deck really wants, which is Creator of Behemoth mana.
Yeah.
And no, the deck is faster than that. Either it hits a Wrath and it peters out and goes into top deck mode and loses, or else it's casting Creator on turn 4, not Frontier Siege. Whenever it spends 4 mana on something, that thing is crazy, crazy good. I don't think it even spends 4 mana or anything. It spends 2 mana, and then it spends another 2 mana. Then it spends 12. I don't think it fits into the curve. And green players, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm talking about mono green Cradle Hoof deck.
It's probably not big enough to go in Cradle Hoof. I would be interested to see if there's a slightly lower curve, kind of like my deck, but in different colors, that just wants to be dropping a bunch of 5-drops.
Like a green, red, big thing deck?
Yeah.
I've seen it before.
I mean, it's nice that you cast it in your first main phase, you get 2 mana right away in your second main phase. You could drop this on turn, with a mana elf, you could drop this on turn 4, and something else.
And maybe a Signet.
Yeah, and then next turn, you have 8 mana, 9 mana. Cast a 4-drop and a 5-drop.
Hey, it's powerful enough in an effect that we've never really seen before, so...
I'd be interested to see.
It's definitely a build-around me card, though.
This card really excited me when I first saw it. Like, when I first saw this, I just thought, it's a 4/4, it makes 2/2s, and has more abilities.
I'm comparing it to, like, a bad Caller of the Claw. It's so much mana. 5 mana in green should get you 7 power, you know? Or the equivalent.
Well, this gives you 6 power, but I think Master of the Wild Hunt is a fair comparison. He costs 4 mana for a 3/3, gives you a 2/2 in the upkeep, which is a little worse. He can't sacrifice himself, but he can make the wolves fight things. It seems highly comparable, and nobody's played Master. I used to play Master of the Wild Hunt like 3 years ago, so I think like you said about some of the other cards 3 years ago, this would have been a really exciting card.
There you go. But it's been outclassed. Creatures are strong these days, and Whisperwood Elemental doesn't make the cut, unfortunately. So everyone's comparing this to Figure of Destiny, which it's obviously got the same template as Figure of Destiny, but it's in very different colors.
I think the temptation in rating this card is probably the same one that everyone was doing when Figure of Destiny first came out. I don't know if you remember reading people's comments on that. People were looking at Figure of Destiny and going, 6 mana to activate the final ability? You'll never use that. This card's bad.
Right. It's actually just the first ability that counts, and then every once in a blue moon you do the second ability as well.
Yeah. I mean, Figure is quite good because the second ability is fairly reliably reached.
Right. And this one will be...
I don't
fairly
know.
reliably reached too, because it's in green. You have a lot more mana.
Sure. You get a lot less for your second activation.
You do.
Like Trample and Lifelink.
It's more about winning a race.
Yeah. But it's a 1 mana 1/1 that can turn into can be a 3/3 that's attacking on turn 2.
You do need to activate that first ability to make it relevant, but you can activate it whenever you feel like. You can play this on turn 1, play a 2-drop on turn 2 and just attack with your 1/1, and then activate it turn 3 or turn 4 when you have the mana lying around.
In that regard, it is very similar to Figure, because Figure also requires the first activation to be any use. Yeah. They're both 1 mana 1/1s.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is 1 mana 1/1 that will make the cut in some very real decks.
Well, she just seems...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're talking about all these creatures that don't make the cut in blue-green tempo. Well, this one makes the cut. This is crazy.
Also, yeah, this lets blue-green have threatens, which isn't something that blue has had access to since, Ray of Command and Mirage.
Right, not only is it powerful, but it gives a unique effect.
Blue hasn't had temporary stealing like this in a long time.
It's very exciting. It's very powerful. Play this card if you can afford to play the mana cost and the trigger.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's all we need to say.
I love this. This is one of those cards that just... The creative team did such a good job on this. And this is not getting played in Highlander.
Sorry, this is not a Highlander card, but
just
appreciate this card. Read the flavor text, look at the art.
You don't understand what the heck's going on when you read the ability, and then you look at the picture and you go, oh, it's just, like, the exact opposite of Harsh Sustenance.
Which is a card, if you look it up, makes no sense. And
but then you read the flavor text, and you look at the art, and it makes even less sense.
Even less sense. It's a poem of a Grim Contest. What is this guy doing? Or is this one a girl? Are they all
This
girls?
is some of them are guys, some of them are girls. This one's a girl.
How can you tell?
I just
Don't worry about it. It's 5 mana for 4/5 flying, and whenever it attacks, it anthems your creatures. It's got dash too. I think the dash is going to be played more often than casting
yeah, like
because it's the kill spell. It's a fire axe.
it's okay. It's Thundermaw Hellkite.
Right.
In this color combination, it's Thundermaw Hellkite that pumps your team.
That's a lot of damage.
And okay, it comes back to your hand at end of turn, but if you haven't already killed them, you're probably okay paying 5 to do it again next turn.
Black red goblins.
I mean, it's expensive, but I don't know if that deck has that as its curve topper. But
Who knows?
it certainly seems.
If you play a lot of creatures and you're playing black and red, it's really worth a look.
I also really like how the watermarks on the dragon cards are different. I presume that they're what the watermarks are going to look like in Dragons of Tarkir.
I didn't notice
That
that.
Mardu symbol's not quite the same.
Interesting, interesting. All right. Well, we're back where we started. I'm excited about this set. You know, I've heard some people calling this out as a no playable set, but I hope we've shown that there's some exciting stuff.
No, I'm definitely
going on.
looking forward to some of the cards in this set.
Tassinger mostly. Oh
Yeah.
boy.
I loves me a Tarmogoyf.
Don't we all? Well, thanks for tuning in to this set review. I'm excited for Fate Reforged. Hope you are too. And the cards are legal the day after the pre-release. So
Next week.
crack those packs.
Thank you for having me on.
Cheers. Have a good night, everyone.
No, seriously, go ahead. Stop watching. Turn that off.